Fact 1. The first secret of nature is that even silence is alive. When you walk into a quiet forest, it may feel empty at first, but science tells us that beneath your feet billions of tiny organisms are at work, breaking down fallen leaves, turning them into nourishment for the roots below. The stillness is not absence, but a gentle orchestra of processes too small to hear, each one humming softly in the dark soil. As you breathe in, you become part of this rhythm, your lungs filling with air that trees once shaped, as if the forest itself is breathing with you. Fact 2. Every tree you see has a hidden pulse, not like the heartbeat of an animal, but a slow, upward push of water from roots to leaves, climbing silently against gravity. This flow, called transpiration, happens with such steadiness that entire rivers in the sky depend on it. The Amazon rainforest, for example, releases so much moisture through its leaves that it creates its own clouds, its own rains, a cycle of breath between earth and sky. To know this is to feel that every leaf, no matter how small, whispers to the clouds above. Fact 3. The stars in the night sky may feel distant, but you carry fragments of them inside you. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen you breathe, all were forged in the heart of ancient stars that lived and died long before Earth was born. When you rest beneath the sky, you are not looking at strangers, but at your own cosmic relatives, shimmering quietly, reminding you that you belong to the oldest family there is. Fact 4. Rivers remember the mountains they came from. Every stone at the bottom of a stream was once part of something larger, carried by time and water until it was smoothed into silence. Science tells us that rivers carve valleys, shaping landscapes over millions of years, but they also carve us. The sound of flowing water lowers heart rate, calms the mind, and invites sleep. To listen to a river is to hear both geology and comfort, a lullaby written by gravity and time. Fact 5. The air you breathe tonight has been breathed before. Molecules of oxygen cycle endlessly, passing through forests, oceans, animals, and humans, weaving us together in invisible ways. A single breath you take may contain atoms once inhaled by an ancient whale or exhaled by a person thousands of years ago. Nature holds no separation here, only circulation, a quiet reminder that every life is a shared story written in air. Fact 6. Flowers are more than beauty. They are mathematics in bloom. Petals often follow the Fibonacci sequence, spirals that echo the same patterns found in galaxies, hurricanes, and seashells. When you look closely at a sunflower, each seed is placed at a precise angle that allows the most to fit, creating a pattern of efficiency and grace. Nature does not waste. It arranges itself in harmony, as if even numbers know how to rest. Fact 7. The ocean, vast and deep, sings songs you cannot hear. Whales create calls that can travel for hundreds of miles beneath the waves, low notes that move through the darkness like messages of patience. Scientists record these sounds, discovering that whales share cultures, songs passed down across generations. The sea is not empty. It is a cathedral of voices, each one echoing in the saltwater halls, reminding us that slowness and song are forms of survival. Fact 8. The night sky above you is also alive with movement, even when it looks still. Planets drift, meteors streak, satellites orbit, and the Earth itself spins gently, carrying you with it. To the human eye, it seems calm. To science, it is a constant dance. Yet this dance is so steady, so reliable, that we mark our days and years by its rhythm. Sleep becomes easier when you remember this. You are carried in a cosmic cradle that never stops rocking. Fact 9. Birds, fragile and light, travel farther than most humans ever will. The Arctic tern, for instance, flies from one pole of the Earth to the other each year, chasing summer across hemispheres. This journey, more than 40,000 miles, is a migration of endurance and grace. And yet, when a bird rests on a branch outside your window, it folds all of this vastness into a single quiet moment, feathers tucked, heart slowing, as if it too knows how to fall asleep close to you. Fact 10. Finally, the sky itself holds a secret comfort. At sunset, the colors you see are caused by light scattering through air, bending into soft hues of orange, rose, and violet. It feels like magic, but it is physics woven with beauty. This scattering makes the day fade gently, giving your eyes a signal that night is near, that rest is coming. Nature paints this transition not only for the sky, but for you, a signal that it is safe now to let go, to drift, to surrender to sleep as the world darkens in soft color. Fact 11. The soil beneath your feet is a library of time. Every handful of earth carries stories millions of years old. The dust of mountains ground down by wind, the remnants of ancient plants and animals, the invisible traces of rain that fell centuries before you were born. Scientists tell us that 1 teaspoon of healthy soil can hold more organisms than there are people on Earth, a hidden city of life working in silence. To press your hand against the ground is to rest on a vast memory, soft and ancient, whispering of continuity and belonging. Fact 12. Leaves speak in languages we cannot hear, but science has begun to listen. When plants are thirsty, they release ultrasonic clicks. When touched, they alter their chemistry. When light fades, they change their posture as if preparing for sleep. Though their movements are slow, stretched across hours, they are alive with responses, with small decisions made in silence. To see a forest is to watch a conversation happening at a scale slower than ours, yet no less real, a green hush that continues whether we notice or not. Fact 13. Clouds carry weight you cannot imagine. A single fluffy cumulus cloud may look as light as cotton, yet it can hold hundreds of tons of water. Suspended by the dance of air currents, these floating lakes drift across the sky, shaping weather, softening sunlight, and sometimes breaking open to nourish the land below. The gentle rain that taps on your window at night is nothing less than a sky returning its gathered gift to the earth, a cycle of giving and receiving that never ends. Fact 14. Deep in the ocean, light disappears, and yet life glows. Bioluminescent creatures create their own stars in the darkness, bodies shimmering with blues and greens, a silent aurora beneath the waves. From tiny plankton that make the sea sparkle at night to lanternfish carrying glowing signals, the ocean reminds us that darkness does not mean emptiness. Even in the deepest quiet, beauty finds a way to shine, turning shadows into gentle wonder. Fact 15. Mountains grow and breathe in ways too slow for human eyes to see. They rise where tectonic plates push together, folding the earth upward, and crumble slowly where wind and rain carve them down. Though they appear eternal, they are changing every moment, shifting grain by grain, echoing the same cycles that shape us. growth, erosion, renewal. To gaze at a mountain is to look at time sculpted into stone, a reminder that even the strongest forms are softened by patience. Fact 16. The moon, companion of the night, tugs at the seas with its invisible hand. The tides rise and fall because of its pull, water answering quietly to a body so far away. And yet this same moonlight has shaped human rhythms for thousands of years, guiding crops, rituals, and rest. When you see the moon outside your window, remember that it is also shaping the ocean far beyond your sight, weaving its gentle influence into the lives of every creature that depends on the sea. Fact 17. Snowflakes, delicate and fleeting, carry infinite variety. Each one forms as water vapor freezes around a speck of dust, branching outward in patterns influenced by temperature and humidity. No two are identical, though all follow the same laws of physics. To catch one on your glove is to hold a moment of geometry that will never repeat again, a fragile masterpiece melting back into water. Nature reminds us here that uniqueness is woven into even the smallest, briefest forms. Fact 18. Bees, though tiny, hold entire ecosystems together. As they move from flower to flower, they pollinate crops and wild plants alike, ensuring fruits, seeds, and future blooms. 1/3 of the food humans eat depends on this invisible labor, carried out in quiet hums and gentle landings. At dusk, when the hive grows still, thousands of bees rest together, their wings folded, their day's work done. The sweetness of honey is not only flavor, but the essence of their collective dream. Fact 19. The desert, often thought of as barren, is alive with secret adaptations. Plants like cacti store water in their flesh, opening their pores only at night to breathe safely without losing moisture. Animals burrow deep underground, hiding from the heat, emerging when the air cools. Even the sand itself carries memory, dunes shifting in waves that mirror the sea, shaped by winds that never rest. To lie beneath desert stars is to feel that even in harshness, life finds rhythm, balance, and rest. Fact 20. And the final secret of this part lies within your own body, for you too are nature. The beating of your heart echoes the pulse of rivers. Your breath mirrors the tides. Your cells carry the minerals of Earth and the starlight of galaxies. Science tells us that you are made of 37 trillion cells, each one busy and alive, yet working together in harmony, just as forests, oceans, and skies do. To close your eyes now is to return to this truth. You are not separate from nature, but part of its soft unfolding, as inseparable as a wave from the sea. Fact 21. The wind that brushes against your skin carries with it memories of distant places. Each breeze is a traveler, born from temperature shifts over mountains, deserts, or seas, wandering across landscapes before it arrives gently at your window. Scientists call it a movement of air molecules from high to low pressure, but in truth, it feels like more than physics. It is the touch of elsewhere, the invisible hand of another world caressing your cheek. When you fall asleep, imagine the wind as a messenger, carrying quiet whispers from forests you have never walked and oceans you have never seen, a letter written in currents, delivered softly as you rest. Fact 22. The roots of trees do more than anchor, they speak to one another. Beneath the soil lies a vast network where fungi connect root to root, forming what scientists call the mycorrhizal web. Through this hidden internet, trees share sugars, warnings, and even comfort. A strong tree may feed a weaker one, and a mother tree may send resources to her seedlings in times of need. You cannot hear it, but beneath your feet there is a soft murmur of sharing, a generosity older than human history. As you drift toward dreams, imagine that your own mind is part of such a web, linked invisibly to others, nourished even in silence. Fact 23. Coral reefs, often called the rainforests of the sea, are cities built by tiny creatures. Each coral polyp, smaller than a fingertip, secretes calcium to build a home, and together, countless generations form vast structures that can be seen from space. These reefs shelter 1/4 of all marine species, vibrant sanctuaries hidden beneath the waves. At night, under the moonlight, corals glow faintly, bioluminescent and alive, as if the ocean itself is dreaming. To know this is to understand that greatness often begins with the smallest hands, and beauty, too, can be built from patience and cooperation across centuries. Fact 24. The northern lights, or auroras, shimmer like curtains of color across polar skies. Their beauty hides a cosmic dance, charged particles from the sun colliding with Earth's magnetic field, igniting atoms in the atmosphere until they glow. Green, purple, pink, light bending into waves across the night. People once believed they were spirits, messengers, omens. Science explains them as energy meeting air. Yet neither explanation takes away their magic. To lie beneath them is to feel that the sky itself has chosen to sing, painting a lullaby across darkness, reminding you that even the coldest places can burn with beauty. Fact 25. Ants, so small they seem invisible, create societies more complex than we often imagine. In a single colony, thousands of individuals work as one, some gathering food, some caring for young, some building tunnels, some defending the nest. They follow chemical trails invisible to us, a language of scent that maps entire worlds across grass and soil. Though their lives are brief, their work lasts, reshaping earth, feeding forests, even aerating soil for plants to thrive. As you listen to your own breath in the stillness of night, remember the quiet persistence of these tiny beings, moving endlessly but without haste, writing patience into the fabric of the ground. Fact 26. Lakes and ponds, mirrors of the sky, hold secrets beneath their still surfaces. In summer, they may look calm, yet beneath the top layer, cooler water rests, dense and unmoving, a hidden world of fish and plants. In winter, when ice forms, it floats instead of sinking, a rare miracle of water. This allows life to survive beneath even when the surface hardens. You may not notice when you stand by a frozen pond, but beneath the glassy silence, fish drift slowly, alive in their cold sanctuary. Nature protects its children quietly, offering refuge even in the harshest seasons. Fact 27. The heartbeats of animals often follow rhythms that soothe us without us realizing. A hummingbird's wings beat up to 80 times a second, a blur of energy, while the heart of a blue whale, the largest creature alive, beats only a few times per minute, deep and resonant. To imagine such extremes is to feel the diversity of life's tempo, from the frantic to the unhurried. When you rest tonight, your own heartbeat slows, echoing more with the whale than the bird, steady and grounding, reminding you that rest itself is a form of survival. Fact 28. Grasslands stretch like green oceans across continents, seas of motion that sway with every breeze. Each blade bends, but does not break, absorbing the wind and waves. Beneath, roots run deep, holding soil together, feeding herds, nurturing birds, butterflies, and countless small creatures hidden from sight. Without grasslands, much of the Earth's oxygen and balance would fade. Yet they ask nothing but space to grow and the return of rain. As you imagine these fields, picture yourself as one among the blades, soft, resilient, swaying gently, always returning upright after the storm passes. Fact 29. Fireflies, tiny lanterns of summer nights, carry light inside their fragile bodies. Through a chemical reaction in their abdomens, they create flashes that are both signals and songs, used to find each other in the dark. Each species has its own pattern, a secret code written in pulses of light. To watch them is to see love letters written across the night air, ephemeral but radiant. As you close your eyes, think of those gentle sparks, brief but beautiful, glowing not to fight the dark, but to make it gentle, filled with rhythm and warmth. Fact 30. Finally, rain, the most familiar of nature's gifts, is more than falling water. Each drop begins as vapor rising from ocean or lake, condensing around a tiny particle of dust before it falls back to earth. The sound of it against leaves, rooftops, or windows slows the heart, calms the mind, and eases the body into sleep. Rain has been falling since Earth's first skies, long before humans, long before forests, carrying with it the memory of beginnings. Tonight, as you drift into rest, imagine the world being washed clean, drop by drop, until silence remains, soft as a cradle rocking you toward dreams. Fact 31. The desert wind carries songs written in sand. Each grain, lifted and set down again, is a note in a melody of shifting dunes. Over time, entire landscapes change their shape, sculpted not by sudden force, but by endless repetition of something gentle and unseen. Scientists can trace the patterns of these dunes, finding symmetry and rhythm in the way the sand moves, like music slowed to an ancient tempo. When you imagine the desert, picture it as a vast instrument, every gust of air brushing its surface, every curve of dune a frozen wave of sound, reminding you that even emptiness can sing. Fact 32. The roots of water lilies reach down into the mud while their flowers open to the sky, a living bridge between darkness and light. Each blossom floats effortlessly, as though gravity has been softened, resting on the calm skin of a pond. Beneath, their stems filter water, providing refuge for fish and insects, weaving balance into the ecosystem. Their blossoms open in daylight and close at night, a rhythm so steady it mirrors the human breath. Inhale, exhale, rest. To watch a water lily is to see patience painted into motion, a soft reminder that beauty grows where roots touch silence. Fact 33. Butterflies wear time on their wings. Every color, every pattern is not merely decoration but a survival code, evolved through millennia. The scales that shimmer under sunlight are so fine that they bend light into iridescence, creating hues no pigment alone could hold. Some patterns warn predators, others attract partners, but all remind us that fragility is often a disguise for strength. A butterfly's life is short, yet within that span it travels miles, pollinates flowers, and carries beauty like a banner across the air. To see one flutter is to glimpse resilience made weightless, a brief miracle that teaches us how to rest lightly in the world. Fact 34. Beneath the surface of the earth, caves breathe slowly. They form when water, drop by drop, carves its way through stone, creating vast halls where stalactites hang like frozen rain and stalagmites rise like patient columns. Inside, the air is cool and still, as if time itself has slowed to listen. Some caves hold rivers, some echo with the calls of bats, some preserve drawings left by early humans, whispers across thousands of years. To step into a cave is to enter the lungs of the earth, a place where darkness feels protective rather than frightening, where silence folds itself around you like a cloak. Fact 35. The tides are not only guided by the moon, they breathe with the sun as well. Twice each month, when the moon and sun align, the tides stretch higher, reaching farther onto shores, pulling back deeper into the sea. These are called spring tides, though they happen in every season, a reminder of cosmic choreography above. You may never notice their subtle changes when walking a beach, but each grain of sand remembers. The shoreline itself is a diary, pages turned twice daily, written in foam and erased in salt. To sleep beside the ocean is to feel that diary opening and closing, a rhythm that lulls even the most restless mind. Fact 36. Forests are timekeepers. The rings inside trees record not only their age but the history of climate. Years of plenty, years of drought, years when fires swept through. To a scientist, each ring is a data point. To the dreamer, it is a poem, a silent memory preserved in wood. Even when a tree falls, its story remains etched inside, waiting to be read. To place your hand on such wood is to touch a timeline, to rest against a witness of centuries, and to remember that growth always leaves quiet traces, even in silence. Fact 37. Volcanoes, though fierce in imagination, are also creators. When lava cools, it becomes fertile soil, rich with minerals, giving birth to lush forests and fields where once there was only stone. Islands like Hawaii exist because of this, rising from the sea as gifts of fire. Though eruptions can be violent, they are also part of renewal, the earth reshaping itself so life can bloom again. At night, when you think of mountains that glow with molten light, remember too that their fire becomes forests, their ash becomes gardens, and their endings become beginnings, all in a cycle too grand to fear. Fact 38. Jellyfish drift through the oceans like living lanterns, older than dinosaurs, older even than trees. With no bones, no heart, and often no brain, they survive through rhythm alone, pulsing gently, carried by currents as much as they direct themselves. Their bodies are almost entirely water, yet they glow, they move, they feed, they reproduce. A life both simple and eternal. Some species are biologically immortal, reverting back to earlier stages of life when threatened, defying the finality that governs most creatures. To imagine a jellyfish is to imagine the essence of fluidity, of surrender, of trust in the currents, a lesson as soft as sleep itself. Fact 39. Rainforests create their own weather. The moisture rising from millions of leaves becomes mist, then clouds, then rain again, a circle of water falling and lifting endlessly. These forests hum with invisible activity, the rustle of insects, the cries of birds, the silent work of roots and fungi. the slow drip of water on moss. More than half of Earth's species live within these green cathedrals, hidden in layers of canopy and shadow. At night, the rainforest sings differently, with deep croaks, fluttering wings, and the sigh of wind through endless leaves. To think of it is to feel surrounded, not by chaos, but by abundance, a gentle crowding of life that makes the world feel full and safe. Fact 40. At last, consider the stars once more, not as distant points of light, but as suns with their own planets, their own skies, their own possibilities. Astronomers now believe that nearly every star has at least one planet circling it, meaning the universe is more filled with worlds than we can imagine. Some are gas giants, some are rocky, some might hold oceans, some might hold life. The night above you is not empty, but overflowing with places unseen, waiting in silence. To rest beneath such a sky is to be cradled by possibility, to know that infinity stretches not as emptiness, but as promise, a blanket of stars tucking you in. Fact 41. Rivers are not only lines of water, they are living arteries of the land. From the smallest streams trickling out of mountains to the mighty veins of the Amazon and the Nile, they carry with them minerals, soil, seeds, and life itself. Each bend tells a story of erosion and time, each ripple a whisper of gravity pulling water forward. Along their banks, civilizations have risen and flourished, drinking from their flow, planting fields in their floodplains, writing poetry to their constancy. At night, when you close your eyes, you can imagine the sound of a river as your own bloodstream, steady and unbroken, keeping rhythm so you may rest without worry. Fact 42. The dew that glistens on grass at dawn is born from the night's quiet. As air cools, moisture condenses on blades and petals, leaving tiny beads that reflect the first light of morning like jewels scattered in secret. Scientists explain it as a simple meeting of temperature and humidity, but to the heart it feels like a blessing, as if the world leaves small gifts for those who rise early or pause long enough to notice. These droplets nourish insects, refresh plants, and disappear quickly, reminding us of the beauty of impermanence. Even in sleep, dew forms and vanishes, a soft cycle that goes on whether or not we watch. Fact 43. Spiders spin webs that are both fragile and strong, gossamer threads lighter than air, yet tougher than steel, of the same thickness. Each strand carries tension, geometry, and purpose, catching the smallest vibrations of the night. Some webs glisten with dew, turning into shimmering mandalas under the first light. Though many fear spiders, their work is not one of menace but of artistry, patience, and design. To imagine a spider weaving in the dark is to feel the slow rhythm of creation, threads stretched carefully, each one adding to a pattern that holds both survival and beauty. Fact 44. The horizon itself is an illusion, a curve of earth that our eyes mistake for an edge. No matter how far you walk, you never reach it. It moves with you, always retreating just beyond your steps. And yet, this illusion is what gives us sunsets, the great daily moment when the sun slips below sight, painting skies with colors born of scattering light. The horizon is not a boundary, but a promise that there is always more beyond, always another angle, another day, another place. To fall asleep under its memory is to trust in continuation, in the soft unfolding of tomorrow. Fact 45. Frogs sing at night, their calls rising in chorus across wetlands and forests. Each species has its own note, its own rhythm, creating layers of sound that merge into a living lullaby. These songs serve to attract mates, to mark territory, to keep the cycles of life moving. Yet to the human ear, they are simple and soothing, a pulse of nature that quiets the mind. In ancient traditions, frog songs were symbols of renewal, tied to rain and fertility. To drift into dreams with their voices imagined is to be rocked by a choir older than language itself. Fact 46. Lightning, though fierce and fleeting, is a sculptor of air. A single bolt heats the atmosphere to temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun, splitting molecules and releasing nitrogen that later nourishes soil. Without lightning, the ground would lack much of the fertility that feeds forests and crops. What seems like sudden violence is in truth a gift, a brief strike that enriches life. To remember this as you sleep is to see even the sharpest flash as part of a cycle of care, not destruction but renewal, nature's spark feeding tomorrow's growth. Fact 47. Owls glide silently through the night on wings designed for quiet. The edges of their feathers are fringed in such a way that they break up turbulence, muffling sound. This allows them to hunt unseen, but it also makes their flight seem otherworldly, ghost-like, gentle. Their eyes, wide and luminous, gather even the faintest light, turning darkness into vision. For centuries they have been symbols of wisdom, of mystery, of hidden knowledge. To imagine an owl above you is to imagine a guardian of the night, keeping its soft watch as you rest, carrying secrets you need not know. Fact 48. Seashells hold the memory of waves. Each spiral, each curve grows slowly as the creature inside adds layer upon layer of calcium, forming chambers it once inhabited. When the creature dies, the shell remains, carrying the record of its life. Hold one to your ear, and you hear not the sea itself, but the echo of air vibrating in its hollow, a resonance shaped by ocean design. And yet, it feels like the ocean, as if the shell has kept its home inside forever. To fall asleep thinking of seashells is to remember that even the smallest things hold infinity in their spirals. Fact 49. The night air carries scents more richly than the day. With cooler temperatures and less turbulence, aromas linger. The sweetness of jasmine, the dampness of earth after rain, the resin of pine, the faint smoke of distant fires. For many animals, scent is the language of survival, guiding them toward food, away from danger, into the presence of others. For humans, it is memory itself. One smell can bring back entire chapters of life. As you lie in bed, perhaps a faint aroma drifts through your window, and it is enough to carry you gently into the landscapes of your own past. Fact 50. Finally, remember the stars not as countless, but as constant companions. Even when clouds hide them, they remain, their light crossing millions of years to arrive at your eyes. Some of that light began its journey before humans existed, before mountains rose, before rivers carved valleys. To see a star is to see time itself, folded into brightness. You need not understand astronomy to feel the comfort they offer. They are there, always there, marking night as a safe and eternal canopy under which you may surrender to sleep. Fact 51. The sky is never truly still. Even on the calmest nights, air rises and falls in gentle currents, carrying seeds, pollen, and whispers of faraway places. Birds sometimes use these invisible highways to glide for hours without flapping their wings, and tiny insects float with them, traveling farther than their own strength could allow. To think of this is to imagine an unseen ocean above your head, waves of air moving ceaselessly, rocking you like a cradle. When you breathe in, you join this movement, inhaling a fragment of the sky itself. Fact 52. In the Arctic, ice sings. As it cracks, shifts, and drifts, it produces groans, chimes, and echoes, a frozen symphony that only those who listen closely can hear. Scientists record these sounds, finding that each piece of ice has its own voice, shaped by pressure, thickness, and the way it touches water. To close your eyes and imagine it is to hear the Earth's oldest music, a language without words, a hymn of cold and light. Even in stillness, the ice speaks, slow, deep, resonant, reminding us that silence is never empty. Fact 53. Flowers bloom not only for beauty but for timing. Many open at precise hours, so predictable that botanists once created flower clocks, gardens where time could be read by which blossoms were awake. Evening primroses unfold as dusk falls, welcoming moths. Morning glories open with the first light. Each bloom is an appointment kept faithfully with the sun. To imagine a meadow in bloom is to imagine a living clock, petals turning gently toward the hour, nature itself marking time softly without numbers, without urgency, only rhythm. Fact 54. Beneath oceans, vast forests of kelp rise toward light. Their fronds sway like green cathedrals, reaching upward with patience, feeding fish, cradling seals, sheltering entire ecosystems. Kelp grows at extraordinary speed, sometimes half a meter in a single day, stretching into underwater meadows where sunlight filters down in shafts. To swim among them is to move through an underwater dream, columns of life swaying slowly, as if the sea itself breathes in long, measured sighs. Even without seeing them, you can imagine their grace, silent forests rocking with the pulse of the tide. Fact 55. Raindrops are never identical spheres. They change as they fall, stretched and shaped by the wind. Some merge into larger drops, some scatter into mist, some linger on leaves as beads of silver. Each one carries the story of its journey, from cloud to earth, from sky to soil. And when countless drops fall together, they create patterns in sound. The steady patter on rooftops, the rushing chorus on rivers, the gentle tapping on glass. Rain is not only water, it is percussion, a natural music that settles the mind. To drift into sleep beneath such rhythm is to surrender to nature's soft drumbeat. Fact 56. In the deep desert, mirages shimmer like ghosts of water. Heat bends light, tricking the eye into seeing pools that do not exist, horizons that waver. Though they are illusions, they reveal a truth. Our senses are shaped by environment, painting what we believe should be there. Even without water, the desert shows us a reflection of thirst, a canvas of longing. To dream of a mirage is to understand how the mind itself creates worlds, some real, some imagined, all part of the same quiet fabric. Fact 57. Seeds carry forests inside them. A single acorn, small enough to fit in your palm, contains the possibility of an oak that might stand for centuries, sheltering birds, cooling ground, holding soil. Science tells us this potential lies in DNA, spirals of code curled within the seed's core. To the dreamer, It is nothing less than a miracle, vastness folded into the smallest of forms. When you rest, you too are like a seed, holding within you stories, futures, growths unseen, waiting for the right season to open. Fact 58. Fire, though consuming, is also renewing. In certain forests, pines and sequoias release their seeds only after fire cracks open their cones. Flames clear the underbrush, allowing sunlight to reach the ground, and from the ashes, green shoots rise. What seems like an ending is a beginning concealed in heat. To think of this is to soften fear, to see cycles where destruction is also creation, and endings hold within them the shape of tomorrow. Like sleep itself, fire closes one chapter so another can emerge in dawn's quiet. Fact 59. Crystals grow slowly in darkness, atoms aligning in patient order until light catches them and they gleam. From salt to quartz to diamonds, each crystal is a testimony to time, to pressure, to stillness. They do not hurry. Their beauty is formed by waiting. To hold a crystal is to hold years, centuries, sometimes millennia condensed into symmetry. When you imagine them deep beneath mountains, forming unseen, you realize that even in silence, nature is building, polishing, and preparing gifts that one day emerge sparkling into light. Fact 60. Finally, the horizon of the sea is not an end but a curve. Where water meets sky, we imagine a line, yet it is only the bending of earth, the continuation beyond what eyes can follow. Sailors once feared they would fall from its edge, but instead they discovered that horizons are circles, cradles, embraces. To rest beneath such a thought is to know that endings are never endings, only the limit of vision. Beyond every horizon lies more sky, more sea, more story, and that is enough to ease the heart into peace. Fact 61. The stars above you may seem countless, but the number visible to the human eye on the darkest night is about 5,000. They scatter across the sky like scattered grains of light, yet beyond sight, there are billions more, each a fire burning in silence. To look up is to see only a fraction of what exists, but that fraction is enough to remind you that infinity is not empty, but full. As you rest beneath them, imagine yourself stitched gently into this fabric, as though every breath is a thread woven into the starry quilt above. Fact 62. The shells of turtles and tortoises are not houses they carry, but part of their very bones. Their ribs and spine fuse into the hard dome, protecting them while also growing with them. This shell is both armor and home, a living architecture of patience. Some tortoises live for more than a century, moving slowly, breathing deeply, embodying time stretched into stillness. To imagine their quiet lives is to remember that speed is not always strength. Endurance, too, is a form of wisdom, a kind of rhythm that teaches us how to rest within our own shells. Fact 63. The clouds at sunset glow in colors that are not really there. As light passes through the thickening atmosphere, blue and green scatter away, leaving behind the longer waves of red, orange, and gold. What you see is a bending of light, an illusion turned into beauty. Every sunset is unrepeatable, shaped by dust, moisture, and angle, painted once and never again. To watch one is to witness something ephemeral, a gift given only for a moment before fading into night. And to close your eyes afterward is to carry that gift inward, letting it paint your dreams in gentle hues. Fact 64. Whales breathe through the top of their heads, exhaling great plumes of mist into the air before slipping back beneath the waves. Though they live in the depths, they must return again and again to the surface, reminding us that even the largest beings need to pause and breathe. Their songs, deep and resonant, travel across oceans, carrying messages we still do not fully understand. Some songs last for hours, others for days, repeating like lullabies through the dark water. To imagine them is to hear the ocean itself singing softly in the distance, carrying its comfort into your sleep. Fact 65. Rainbows are circles, though we usually see only half. From the ground, the horizon cuts them into arches, but from high above, in mountains or airplanes, full circles sometimes appear, halos of color floating in mist. A rainbow is light split into its hidden parts, every shade unfolding from what seems like simple white. It lasts only as long as sun and rain meet, fragile as a dream. Yet even its briefness feels eternal, as if the sky itself smiled for a moment before falling quiet again. To drift to sleep with rainbows in mind is to believe that color is always hidden somewhere in the air, waiting to return. Fact 66. In forests, mosses carpet stone and soil, softening hard edges. They need little sunlight, little soil, only moisture and patience. They grow where almost nothing else can, turning rock into a place where roots may one day cling. They hold water like sponges, offering tiny refuges for insects and amphibians. To walk on moss is to step on a memory of rain, cool and gentle, alive with ancient persistence. Some species of moss are older than flowering plants, keeping the memory of Earth's earliest green alive. To rest is to become like moss, simple, enduring, quietly alive. Fact 67. The wings of dragonflies shimmer with colors that change as they move. Their flight is precise, able to hover, glide, or dart in sudden turns, a mastery that has lasted for millions of years. Fossil dragonflies once grew as large as hawks, their ancestors ruling ancient skies. Now smaller, they still keep their grace, often seen near water, their bodies catching the sunlight. To watch them is to glimpse an old story written in delicate wings, a memory of air itself learning to dance. And to fall asleep thinking of them is to let your mind hover, weightless, shimmering, unbound. Fact 68. Mountains wear crowns of clouds. When moist air rises and cools, it gathers around peaks, forming veils and halos that shift with every breeze. Some clouds cling tightly, hiding summits. Others drift like scarves pulled across stone shoulders. To those below, it seems as if the mountains themselves exhale, wrapping in breath. These crowns remind us that even the tallest places are touched by the sky, softened by mist. To imagine them is to feel that height does not mean distance, but connection. Even the highest peaks rest in the arms of air. Fact 69. In deserts, certain flowers bloom all at once after rare rains. Seeds wait for years, buried in dust, until the right moisture comes. Then, almost overnight, entire landscapes transform into fields of color, blossoms stretching to horizons. Within weeks, the flowers wither, scattering seeds back into soil to wait again. This cycle is called a super bloom, a miracle of patience and timing. To think of it as you drift to sleep is to remember that within long, quiet seasons, beauty is gathering strength, preparing to burst into sight when the moment arrives. Fact 70. Finally, lightning bugs, or fireflies, remind us that light can be born inside living bodies. Each tiny glow is the result of a reaction between oxygen and chemicals within them, efficient and gentle, producing no heat, only glow. Their patterns flicker in codes, love songs written in sparks, answers flashing back and forth across fields. To watch them is to watch night adorned with stars that move close to the ground, galaxies alive in grass. And when you think of them as you close your eyes, you carry a pocket full of small lights into your dreams, proof that even darkness holds its own constellations. Fact 71. The ocean's surface, though often restless with waves, hides beneath it currents that flow with the steadiness of rivers. These deep streams travel thousands of miles, carrying warmth, salt, and nutrients, connecting oceans into a single breathing body. Scientists call this the Great Conveyor Belt, a circulation that helps regulate Earth's climate. To imagine it is to see the planet not as many waters, but as one, pulsing with hidden tides. As you rest, picture yourself floating on its slow current, carried endlessly but gently, never rushed, always moving forward with patience. Fact 72. The sound of crickets in the night is not random. It follows temperature. Their chirping speeds up in warmth and slows down in cool air, a natural thermometer sung in rhythm. Each note is made by rubbing their wings together, a friction turned into music. To some ears, it is background noise. To others, it is comfort, a sign that life continues in darkness. To drift towards sleep while imagining crickets is to let their steady pulse become part of your own, a reminder that the world hums quietly even when you close your eyes. Fact 73. The tallest trees, redwoods and sequoias, rise higher than most buildings, stretching their crowns into mist. Some are thousands of years old, their bark thick with time, their roots woven deep into the earth. Within their branches live entire communities, birds, mosses, insects, even small mammals, all nested in layers of height. To walk among them is to step into a living cathedral, shafts of light falling through leaves like stained glass. To imagine them at night is to see pillars holding up the sky, guardians of centuries standing in patient silence as you rest beneath their memory. Fact 74. The shapes of snowflakes are written by air. As crystals fall through clouds, humidity and temperature sculpt each branch, each arm, into patterns no two share. Six-sided, symmetrical, yet endlessly varied. Each flake is a frozen story of the sky it passed through. They melt quickly, disappearing into drops, but their uniqueness remains true for every one that falls. To drift into sleep imagining snowflakes is to imagine the sky sketching countless designs, scattering them gently, knowing each is temporary yet perfect. Fact 75. The desert at night cools quickly, its heat vanishing into the clear air, leaving silence spread wide under stars. Animals emerge in this calm, their bodies adapted to darkness. Foxes with large ears, owls with wide eyes, insects with quiet feet. Cacti hold the day's water within, safe and waiting, their spines catching the faint glow of moonlight. To think of the desert in night is to think of resilience softened by quiet, a place that teaches how to endure by resting when the world cools, how to bloom only when the time is kind. Fact 76. The wings of moths, often overlooked beside butterflies, carry subtle colors and hidden patterns. Some shimmer with dust-like scales, some hold eye spots that confuse predators, some glow faintly in moonlight. They fly silently, drawn to lamps and stars alike, their navigation tied to celestial light. To watch a moth is to watch something humble and ancient, moving with quiet determination. In many cultures, they are symbols of the soul, fragile yet enduring. To close your eyes with moths in mind is to imagine gentle wings guiding you deeper into the night. Fact 77. The stones of Earth hold records older than memory. In their layers lie the imprints of ancient seas, the traces of creatures long vanished, the signatures of volcanic fire and shifting plates. Geologists read them as books, but even without words, their presence tells a story of endurance. Rocks weather, crumble, and reform, yet they persist, bearing witness to ages. To hold one in your hand is to hold a fragment of time, silent but infinite. To rest is to become like stone, solid and quiet, carrying history within without needing to speak. Fact 78. The sky before dawn carries a special kind of stillness. Birds wait to sing, wind pauses, stars fade slowly, and the horizon brightens in delicate shades. This moment, called the blue hour, is when the world seems to breathe in before beginning again. It is gentle, transitional, full of promise without urgency. To imagine it as you close your eyes at night is to imagine yourself already on the other side of sleep, waking softly in light without ever having felt the passing of hours. Fact 79. Bees see colors that human eyes cannot, including ultraviolet. Flowers paint patterns invisible to us, guides that lead bees to nectar. What to us looks like a simple blossom is, to them, a map of arrows and signals. This hidden spectrum exists all around, unseen but real. To think of it is to realize that the world holds more than we perceive, layers of beauty folded beneath our sight. As you drift into dreams, you enter a place like that, a spectrum unseen, a landscape beyond waking eyes. Fact 80. Finally, stars sometimes fall. Meteors, tiny fragments of rock or dust, burn bright as they enter Earth's atmosphere, streaking across night like messages written in fire. They last only seconds, yet they have traveled millions of miles through space. To watch one is to feel chosen by coincidence, to see a light that will never repeat. Many close their eyes and make wishes, as if the universe itself paused to listen. To sleep with meteors in mind is to know that even the smallest stones can blaze like stars, reminding you that briefness can be brilliance. Fact 81. Beneath your feet, fungi weave vast networks that may span for miles, threading through soil, roots, and stone. These networks, called the mycelium, connect plants into hidden communities, sharing nutrients and signals. Some scientists call it the Wood Wide Web, for it mirrors the way our own neurons connect. To imagine it is to see the earth as a mind, alive with thought-like currents running silently beneath forests and fields. When you drift into sleep, remember that you too are part of such a web, unseen but connected, nourished even in stillness. Fact 82. The moonlight that falls upon the ground is only a reflection, sunlight bent and softened by the lunar surface. Its glow is faint compared to the sun, but in its gentleness lies its beauty. For thousands of years, travelers have walked by its silver light, tides have followed its pull, and creatures have stirred when it rises. Moonlight carries the memory of day, transformed into something softer, calmer, made for rest. To sleep beneath its glow is to rest under a quiet echo, a softer rhythm of the same light that wakes the world. Fact 83. The songs of whales can cross oceans, some carrying for hundreds of miles beneath the waves. These calls, deep and slow, weave through the dark waters like lullabies of the sea. Each song has its own structure, phrases repeated, altered, passed along between generations. Scientists believe whales may learn, adapt, and even create culture through these songs. To imagine them is to imagine vast halls of water filled with music, voices echoing where light cannot reach. Their patience becomes your patience, their rhythm your rhythm, and your body falls into the same slow current of calm. Fact 84. The colors of autumn leaves are always present, hidden beneath the green of summer. As daylight fades and temperatures cool, chlorophyll retreats, revealing yellows, oranges, and reds that were waiting quietly. The trees are not dying, but resting, pulling energy into their roots for winter's sleep. To walk among autumn trees is to walk among truths revealed, beauty always there, simply hidden for a season. To drift into dreams with this thought is to know that within you too, colors lie waiting, revealed only when the time is right, never lost, only resting. Fact 85. The desert sky at night is one of the clearest windows into the universe. With little moisture and no city lights, stars appear sharper, brighter, more numerous, stretching in rivers of light across the heavens. The Milky Way glows as if painted with a hand of fire, ancient and endless. To imagine lying on desert sand beneath such a sky is to feel both small and infinite at once, as if you are not under the stars but among them, folded into their endlessness. Sleep comes easily when the sky is so open it feels like a cradle of eternity. Fact 86. The roots of mangrove trees stand above water like stilts, holding their trunks steady against tides. They breathe through special passages, filtering salt and surviving where few plants can. Around them, fish hide, crabs scuttle, birds nest, all sheltered by their maze of roots. Mangroves remind us that strength sometimes means flexibility, bending to water, yet never breaking. To picture them is to see a dance between earth and sea, roots and tide, always balanced, always resilient. To rest is to grow roots of your own, invisible but steady, holding you as the night flows past. Fact 87. The wings of butterflies are not only colored by pigment, but by structure. Tiny scales bend light, splitting it into iridescent hues that shift with angle and sun. To one eye they appear blue, to another green, to another violet, all from the same wing. Nature uses this trick not only for beauty, but for survival, for camouflage, for signaling. To imagine such wings is to imagine the play of light itself resting upon delicate forms, a reminder that beauty can be born not of paint, but of how light chooses to linger. Fact 88. Coral polyps, small and soft, build vast reefs that house countless species. They live in partnership with algae that feed them with sunlight, a collaboration written into their very survival. Reefs glow with life, fish flashing in schools, sea anemones swaying, crabs creeping across sand. At night, some corals release glowing eggs and sperm into the water, clouds of new beginnings drifting into currents. To think of this is to see that even the ocean rests not in stillness but in cycles, births, renewals, continuations. Dreams are like reefs, built slowly, alive with hidden light. Fact 89. The dawn chorus, when birds sing together at first light, is one of nature's purest symphonies. Each bird has its own song, but together they create a layered harmony that rises with the sun. Scientists say it is a mix of territory, mating, and greeting, but to the human heart it is joy, the world waking in song. To imagine this as you fall asleep is to reverse the cycle, hearing the music before it comes, knowing that the morning will carry melodies even if you are not awake to greet them. Fact 90. Finally, stars are not still. They are born, live, and die in cycles vast beyond human years. Some expand into red giants, some collapse into white dwarfs, some explode in brilliant supernovae, scattering elements that become planets, oceans, bodies, and breath. Every part of you is borrowed stardust, recycled from stars that once burned. To think of this is to realize you are both fragile and infinite, brief and eternal. To sleep with starlight in mind is to return to your oldest origin, to rest in the truth that you are made of the universe itself. Fact 91. The breath of forest travels farther than we imagine. Each tree exhales oxygen, not only for its neighbors, but for distant lands. Winds carry these invisible gifts across continents and oceans, so that the air you breathe tonight may have once risen from Amazon leaves or Siberian pines. You are joined to places you have never seen by a single inhale, bound to jungles, mountains, and groves in every breath. This is the quiet generosity of forests, to share life endlessly, softly, without asking for return. Fact 92. Fireflies are not the only creatures that glow. Deep beneath the seas, plankton shimmer with bioluminescence, sparkling like stars when stirred by passing fish or the touch of waves. Entire bays in some places shine at night, water lighting up with every step or paddle. It is as though the ocean carries its own constellations, galaxies hidden in salt water. To dream of them is to dream of stars swimming, constellations folding themselves into the tides, reminding you that light is not only above but also beneath, surrounding you from all sides. Fact 93. The songs of cicadas rise and fall with a rhythm older than memory. Some emerge every year. Some wait 13 or 17 years beneath the soil before rising together in vast choruses. Their sound is a vibration of summer, filling fields and forests with waves of life. To some, it is noise. To others, it is the pulse of heat and time, a voice of patience rewarded. To fall asleep with cicadas in mind is to feel yourself carried into the rhythm of seasons, slow, certain, and eternal. Fact 94. The polar bear's white fur is not truly white, but hollow, transparent hairs that scatter light. Beneath, its skin is black, absorbing warmth from the sun. This hidden truth keeps it alive in frozen worlds, a balance of reflection and absorption. To imagine this is to see survival written in illusion, beauty carrying deeper purpose. In your own rest, you too balance light and shadow, warmth and coolness, strength and surrender. Sleep is this balance made visible, the body's own way of adapting gently to night. Fact 95. Thunder, rolling across the sky, is the voice of air responding to lightning. As the bolt heats the air, it expands suddenly, creating waves of sound that echo across valleys and fields. Some hear thunder and feel fear, others hear power and awe. But at its heart, Thunder is simply breath made loud, the sky inhaling and exhaling with fire. To imagine it softer, slowed, is to imagine the sky whispering instead of shouting, speaking not in warning but in rhythm, as if the atmosphere itself were humming a lullaby in deep tones. Fact 96. The shells of snails spiral according to mathematical laws, the golden ratio folded into living form. Their homes grow with them, turning in curves that echo galaxies, hurricanes, and the unfurling of ferns. This spiral is one of nature's favorite shapes, efficient and graceful, repeated in scales both immense and minute. To hold such a shell is to hold the same pattern that spins planets and stars. Sleep comes easily when you realize your body too carries spirals, in DNA, in fingerprints, in the coils of your inner ear, reminders that you are already part of this endless design. Fact 97. Rainbows can appear at night, lit not by the sun but by the moon. These moonbows are pale, often white or silver, too faint for the eye to catch color. They appear rarely when moonlight and rain align in silence. To think of them is to imagine the sky smiling in secret, painting soft arcs only for those who linger in darkness. You may never see one, but knowing they exist is enough. Proof that even night holds hidden colors, waiting for the quietest hours. Fact 98. Elephants remember paths, water holes, and even faces for decades. Their minds carry landscapes, maps written not in paper, but in memory passed down through generations. When rains return after years, they lead their families to water as if guided by whispers from the past. To rest is also to remember, not with effort but with ease, letting experiences fold into the mind like rivers into oceans. In dreams, memory takes shape again, guiding you gently along paths you may have forgotten but never truly lost. Fact 99. The northern forests of Earth, called taiga, stretch like a green crown across continents. They cover more land than any other forest, their pines and firs whispering under snow. Wolves, owls, and lynxes move through their shadows, while lichens and mosses paint the stones. Though vast, they are quiet, a hush stretching for thousands of miles. To dream of them is to dream of endlessness softened by snow, a cradle of trees that never ends. Fact 100. And at last, the earth itself is always turning. Even when you lie still, you are carried eastward at hundreds of miles per hour, swept gently around the axis of the world, moving through space around the sun around the galaxy through the universe. You are never motionless, never abandoned, always carried in a cosmic cradle. To surrender to sleep is simply to let go and be rocked by this motion, the planet itself humming you into dreams. The story has unfolded like a long breath, carrying you through forests and oceans, deserts and skies, and now it settles, not to add new secrets, but to let the earlier ones rise again, gently, like ripples returning to shore. You have heard 100 facts whispered as mysteries, and though your mind may not hold each one in perfect order, your body remembers them in a softer way, as sensations and rhythms. This part is not about learning more, but about feeling what has already been given, and allowing it to sink more deeply into the quiet of your rest. You might remember the forest breathing with you, roots stretching invisibly beneath soil, leaves opening and closing with the day. You might recall the rivers carving valleys, their waters carrying memory of mountains, their sounds lowering the heart into calm. Perhaps it was the stars that linger most, their light born billions of years ago, arriving as a gift tonight. Or perhaps it was the fireflies, sparks in grass, their tiny lanterns echoing constellations. Every fact was a doorway, and now, in reflection, all the doors remain open at once, not in confusion but in harmony, creating a single soft chamber of memory where you can rest. Think of the air you breathe, how it was once part of trees and oceans, of whales and seeds, how every inhale is connection and every exhale is release. Remember the soil, so alive with hidden beings, more numerous than stars, unseen but carrying you with their silent work. Recall the ice that sings, the glaciers groaning as they drift, their voices deep and resonant like instruments of the earth. Think of the moss softening stones, carrying the patience of ages, holding drops of rain like gems. These images blur together until they no longer need to be separate. They merge into one lullaby, a song sung by the whole of nature, telling you again and again, you are part of this, you belong, you may rest. You have walked with deserts that bloom after years of waiting, flowers rising together in sudden abundance, teaching patience as beauty. You have listened to frogs singing in the night, to cicadas pulsing in summer heat, to birds waking the dawn with chorus. You have seen the great whales surface, their mist rising, their songs echoing through water darker than dreams. You have stood among mountains crowned with clouds, their summits exhaling breath into the sky. You have held a shell in your hand, hearing not the sea but the shape of air within, and still you felt the ocean's presence. You have noticed dew on morning grass, rainbows scattering light, snowflakes falling in patterns unique and fleeting. And in all of these things there was the same lesson. The world is alive in cycles, endings folding into beginnings, stillness folding into movement, silence folding into song. To reflect is to see these threads woven together. Lightning, striking fiercely, feeding soil with nitrogen. Fire, burning forests, cracking seeds open for growth. Rain, falling endlessly, carrying memory from oceans to rivers, from rivers to clouds, then returning again. Seeds, small and waiting, carrying centuries of forest within. Crystals forming unseen in stone, slow and patient, until light awakens them to sparkle. The spiral of a snail's shell, of galaxies, of fingerprints, of DNA, all turning endlessly. Even the smallest forms echo the greatest, and you are made of the same spirals, the same cycles. This is not a list, but a weaving. You are walking again through what you have already seen, but more slowly now, as if twilight has thickened, as if the story itself is falling towards sleep. You are reminded that every fact was not only knowledge, but comfort. Fireflies glowed not to explain chemistry, but to soothe darkness. The moon pulled tides not to demonstrate gravity, but to show how connection stretches even across distance. Whales sang not only as biology, but as lullabies written in water. These truths have already become part of you, as gentle presences, as feathers that have settled into your mind. Let yourself drift with the memory of skies painted by sunsets, light scattering into colors that never repeat. Let yourself drift with the image of owls gliding silently, their wings breaking turbulence into whispers. Let yourself drift with the sound of crickets, with the stillness of mountains, with the cool air of caves where time slows. Remember the way mangroves rooted in tides, how forests made their own weather, how deserts carried songs of wind and dunes. You do not need to hold them all, for they hold you. They are larger than memory, older than thought, and they surround you now as guardians of sleep. If you forget details, it does not matter, because reflection is not about perfect recall. It is about the warmth that remains, the glow of starlight after the star has set. You remember not the shape of every word, but the feeling of being carried, of being safe, of being part of something vast and kind. The earth continues its cycles, whether you name them or not. Forests will still exhale, rivers will still flow, fireflies will still shine, mountains will still stand. You are free to let go of remembering, because the remembering is already happening without you. Nature remembers for you. And so this part does not end in conclusion, but in soft dissolving. The facts become murmurs. The murmurs become echoes. The echoes become silence. You are no longer being told secrets. You are simply resting inside them, as if lying within a vast library where the books breathe and the shelves sing. You need not open the pages anymore. The knowledge has already seeped into you like rain into soil. Sleep is not forgetting but being held, and as you drift now, you are held by the sum of all that has been spoken, 100 truths of nature, all whispering the same gentle thing: rest. The story now continues not to open new doors, but to show you how the ones you have already walked through belong to the same house. Every fact you heard was not separate, but part of a single fabric woven of light, soil, water, and breath. Now the threads are gathered, one by one, not in order but in rhythm, so you may feel how they are tied, how they are never alone. This is a reflection on connection, and like sleep itself, it does not come as a sharp moment, but as a slow and quiet folding inward. When you breathe the work of forests, oceans, and mosses. The oxygen in your lungs may have risen from a fern at dawn, drifted across seas with the wind, and arrived at your window in the evening. When you exhale, you give it back, and somewhere a tree or a blade of grass uses it again. Breath is not your possession. It is a shared rhythm, an endless offering passed between all living things. Every inhale is a gift, every exhale a giving, and in this exchange the world is one body. The soil beneath you remembers rain, remembers mountains, remembers leaves that fell and turned to food for roots. Within it, countless organisms weave invisible bridges, fungi carrying nourishment from tree to tree, roots whispering to one another in the dark. Above, the trees release their breath into air. Below, they receive what the soil carries. And beneath even that, stones and crystals hold the memory of pressure and time. Patient shapes grown atom by atom in silence. Nothing is alone. Even the smallest grain of sand has touched oceans and winds, and in turn touches your life in ways too subtle to notice. Water falls as rain, flows as rivers, gathers in lakes, spreads as seas, and rises again as clouds. Each drop moves through a cycle so vast you may drink today what once fell on ancient forests, what once filled a glacier, what once drifted as vapor above deserts. The river that flows through a valley is the same water that one day will return as mist upon mountains. You, too, are mostly water, and so your body is part of this endless movement, a wave within the wave, resting now but still carried along. Light travels farther than water, older than memory. The starlight in your eyes tonight may have left its home before the earth was formed, a thread of brilliance crossing millions of years, just to arrive at your gaze. That same light scatters in the sky at dusk, painting clouds into fire and rose. It refracts in the wings of butterflies, turns dew into jewels, bends into rainbows and moonbows, folds itself into colors hidden to human eyes but visible to bees. Light carries its journey into every corner, connecting stars to shells, galaxies to dragonflies, auroras to crystals. To notice light is to notice connection, for it touches all things equally, whispering unity across distance. Creatures too are part of this weaving. Whales sing to one another in the dark, their voices crossing oceans. Birds rise in chorus at dawn, each voice separate yet together forming harmony. Cicadas wait years underground before emerging in synchrony, filling the air with their pulse. Frogs join in night songs, owls glide silently, crickets rub their wings into rhythm. Each sound might seem small, but together they shape the symphony of night and morning, the music of existence. Even your own heartbeat adds to this choir, slow and steady, another note in the long song of the world. Every pattern repeats across scales. Spirals turn in snail shells, in galaxies, in hurricanes, in the unfurling of ferns, in the double helix of DNA. Circles appear in rainbows, in halos of moonlight, in ripples across ponds, in the migration of planets, in the cycles of seasons. Symmetry folds itself into snowflakes, yet each unique, a reminder that unity does not erase individuality. You are both singular and repeated, a unique pattern made from universal designs. You are not outside of nature's geometry. You are one of its shapes, breathing, glowing, spiraling quietly into the night. Connection is not only of form, but of time. Forests record centuries in rings, glaciers carve valleys for millennia, deserts bloom after years of waiting, stars live and die across billions of years. Your life is brief beside theirs, and yet you are made of their elements, their cycles, their gifts. The calcium in your bones is older than the sun, the water in your blood older than mountains. Time folds itself into you, and when you rest not only your own story but the story of ages. Sleep becomes not an absence, but a return, a rejoining with time's endless fabric. And there is connection in resilience. Mangroves rooting in tides, deserts holding seeds for years until rain comes, cacti opening their pores only at night, mosses covering stone, jellyfish surrendering to currents yet surviving for ages. Each of these lives in patience, showing that endurance is its own form of beauty. You too endure, not by force but by rest. When you close your eyes, you are not withdrawing from the world. You are joining the same rhythm of survival that trees, rivers, and creatures follow. Work and stillness, song and silence, day and night. The 100 facts were never meant to stand apart. They were always threads of one great pattern. Breath to tree, tree to soil, soil to crystal, crystal to starlight, starlight to water, water to seed, seed to forest, forest to whale song to tide, tide to moon, moon to night. Each fact leaned upon the others, and now you see them not as numbers, but as one story, a single lullaby written in countless verses. To lie within this realization is to feel less like a listener and more like a participant. You are one of the verses, one of the threads. You are connection itself. And so this reflection slows even more. The voice of the story is softer now, like wind across grass, like river against stone. You no longer need to hold on to detail, for the pattern is enough, the web is enough. Connection means you are never separate, never alone. Even in sleep, the mycelium runs, the tides flow, the forests breathe, the stars burn. The universe continues to carry you in its arms. To surrender to this is not to vanish, but to belong, more deeply, more completely than when awake. The facts have turned into whispers, the whispers into rhythm, the rhythm into silence. What remains is the feeling of being part of one unbroken chain, one unbroken breath. And in this place, the world hums softly, rocking you as if you were its child. Close your eyes now, and let the connections hold you. Sleep is not a breaking away. It is another joining, another circle, another spiral. Rest, then, in the great web of being, safe and endless, a thread among threads, a dream among dreams.